Have you ever stopped to think about what it takes to power pretty much every Google service you touch? I mean, this isn't something you can just buy off a shelf. It's a system they had to build from the ground up to handle a truly mind-boggling scale. So today, we're going to deconstruct Google Bigtable, the database that basically powers the planet.
And just to wrap your head around the scale we're talking about, look at this number. Bigtable handles more than 7 billion requests a second. That's not per day, not per hour, that's every single second. This thing isn't just a database, it's pretty much the engine of the internet as we know it.
And here's the kicker. You're a part of that story. Every single time you type in a search, watch a YouTube video, check your Gmail, or get directions on maps, you are talking to Bigtable. It is the invisible giant working behind the scenes of our digital lives.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First, we'll look at the problem that made Google build this thing in the first place. Then we'll dive into its really unique data model, see how it writes and stores data so incredibly fast, understand how it scales across thousands of machines, and then, and this is the big one, we'll focus on the single most important thing for using it right, the row key.
Okay, so it all starts with this massive problem of scale. I mean, why build a whole new database from scratch? That's a huge deal, right? Well, back around 2004, Google looked at the traditional relational databases out there and basically said, nope, these just aren't going to cut it. They needed something that could grow almost forever without just falling over.
And this is why. Today, Bigtable manages over 10 exabytes of data. To put that in perspective, that's 10 million terabytes. Conventional databases, with their strict schemas and all the overhead for transactions, they just weren't built for that kind of load, or for all the messy, semi-structured data you find on the web. Google needed flexibility, and they needed to scale out big time.
So their solution was a whole new way of looking at data. At its core, Bigtable is not a relational database at all. It's something way simpler, but for their needs, way more powerful. The best way to think about it is just as a giant sorted map.
Now, the official definition is a sparse, distributed, multidimensional sorted map, which sounds like a mouthful, but it actually tells us everything. Sparse just means empty cells don't take up any space. Distributed means it runs across thousands of machines. And multidimensional, this is the cool part, it maps three things: a row key, a column key, and a timestamp, all to a single value.
Let's look at a real example here. The row key is a reversed domain name, com.google.ww. Now that's a clever trick because the whole table is sorted by this key, so it automatically groups all the pages from one website together. The columns are grouped into families like contents or anchor. And see those timestamps, T5, T3? Bigtable can keep multiple versioned copies of the data in a single cell. That's perfect for something like keeping a history of a web page.
Okay, so you have this giant sorted map. The next challenge is, how do you write to it billions of times a second without bringing the system to its knees? The answer is this really slick two-step process that separates safety from speed.
So when a write comes in, the first thing it does is get appended to a commit log on permanent storage. This is super fast because it's just writing to the end of a file, and it guarantees that if the server crashes, your data is safe. Right after that, the data gets written to a sorted data structure in memory called a memtable. So durability comes from the log, and speed comes from writing to RAM. The client gets a confirmation almost instantly, and the system is happy.
Now, this memory-first approach is incredibly fast, but it brings up the next obvious problem, right? Memory is finite. It's going to fill up. So what happens then?
I mean, really, what does happen when that super fast memtable in memory gets full? You can't just keep stuffing data in there forever. The system has to have a way to get this data onto more permanent storage, all without slowing down on the new writes that are still pouring in.
And the solution is just beautiful. The full memtable gets frozen and then written out as a brand new file on Google's distributed file system. This file is called an SS table, which stands for Sorted String Table. Now here is the absolute key design choice. This SS table is immutable. Once it's written, it is never, ever changed. This completely avoids all the performance problems and complexity that come with updating files on disk.
So what you end up with is this kind of layer cake of data. The live, in-memory memtable with all the newest writes is right on top. And underneath it, you got this stack of older, unchangeable SS tables on disk. So when you need to read something, Bigtable just checks the top layer first, the memtable. If it's not there, it checks the next SS table down, and so on. The first one it finds is, by definition, the most recent version. Simple.
Of course, you can't just let this stack of SS tables grow forever.
because reads would get slower and slower. So in the background, Bigtable is constantly running this process called compaction. It just takes a few of those smaller SS tables and merges them into a new, bigger one, cleaning out any deleted data or old versions along the way. You can think of it as a garbage collection crew that keeps the whole system tidy and efficient.
So we've just described a system that works beautifully on a single machine. But that's not Google's problem, is it? Now for the real magic, making this whole thing work across thousands of computers.
And the secret sauce here is partitioning. Remember how the entire table is always sorted by the row key? Well, Bigtable just takes that giant sorted list and chops it up. It slices it into these continuous, manageable chunks, and each of those chunks can then be handled by a single server.
And each one of these chunks has a name. It's called a tablet. The tablet is the basic unit of work in Bigtable. A single machine, a tablet server, might handle a few of these tablets. And if a tablet gets too big, the server just splits it in half and hands one of the new pieces off to another server. This is how Bigtable just scales itself, almost effortlessly. It's brilliant.
Okay, now we've arrived at the most practical and honestly the most crucial part of this whole system. All of this incredible architecture, the sorted maps, the SS tables, the tablets, it all boils down to one thing that you, the developer, absolutely have to get right: the row key.
Think about it. Since those tablets are literally just ranges of sorted row keys, the way you design your row keys directly decides which tablet, and therefore which physical server, your data lands on. Let me say that again. Your schema design is your load balancing strategy.
And if you get this wrong, it leads to a classic and very painful problem called hotspotting. If you use a bad key, like just a simple sequential number or a timestamp at the front, what happens? Every single new write goes to the very end of the table. That means all of your write traffic is slamming into the one single server that happens to own that last tablet, while the rest of your expensive cluster just sits there doing nothing. A good key, though, like one that puts a unique user ID first, spreads that load nice and evenly across all the machines.
So this all leads to a few really important best practices. You want to use prefixes to keep related data together so you can scan it efficiently. Use those reverse domain names we saw earlier. And please never ever start a key with a timestamp or a sequential number. And one last pro tip, use human-readable keys. It makes debugging 1,000,000 times easier than trying to figure out what some random hash means.
I want to leave you with this quote from Google's own documentation because it just perfectly sums up why this is so critical. Getting the row key right isn't just a little performance tweak, it's fundamental to the health of your application. And trust me, fixing a bad key design later on means a massive, painful, and scary data migration.
So we've seen how Bigtable's architecture, from its simple sorted map and immutable files to its self-scaling tablets, is just a masterclass in building for scale. But every single one of those brilliant ideas is governed by one single fundamental choice: the design of the row key. So the real question isn't just about how Bigtable works. It's for your next huge application. What would the perfect row key look like?